Hey guys, welcome to Cheap Old Cars and Audio. My name's John. So what we're going to do today is go over how to buy tires. If you already know how to buy tires, you can click off this video. I'd love it if you stay and watch, even like and subscribe. If you're going to leave the video, go ahead and like and subscribe anyway, right? If you already subscribed, hit like. Hit the notification bell too. All the things. It helps the channel grow. It helps other people see it. We're going to go over how to buy tires, how to search for tires, how to find what you want. So a lot of times I see this among young car enthusiasts. They don't really know what they're doing. And I don't mean that in any kind of bad way. But, maybe your dad wasn't a car enthusiast or you just didn't know. And so I see people, I almost said on the forums, I'm old. I see people on the Facebook pages asking about these things. And a lot of times they're just younger guys, and they're into cars, and they've got their first car now. I have 4 Mustangs right now, as you probably know if you've seen my channel, and so I'm on the Mustang pages a lot, and I'm still on a lot of others too. I just like a lot of different cars. But yeah, I see this come up often, and so I thought I could maybe help a little bit and get you, my wonderful viewer, just a little bit of insight into how to search for tires on your own without having to go to the shop and have them pick something for you. So we're on Tire Rack, as you can see. The first thing you need to know, how to read your tire size, right? I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. We have all these service types, and you can find this on Tire Rack. I might even put the link for this in the video. We'll see. So P is P metric, designed to fit on vehicles that are primarily used as passenger vehicles. So a lot of times you'll see the tire like a P265, whatever. That doesn't really matter that much, because I'm not going to get into, you can see on the screen here, there's LT and XL and commercial and ST, and there's E load ratings and stuff. We're not really going to get into that. This is just like, hey, you got yourself a car or a small light truck, and we're just going to shop for basic tires for that. A storm rolled through this morning, and I have allergy issues, so every time a storm rolls through, like when I was doing the work from home office stuff, a storm would roll through, and I'd be on a meeting, and it's just like, hey guys, how's it going? And they're like, oh my gosh, are you sick? No, I'm not sick, I'm okay. Or sound like I'm dying, but everything's fine. So, let's get back to this. The first number on the side of your tire, you'll see you have this here. This example is a 245. You can see my cursor moving. 245, 75, 16. The 245 is your section width. Now, the section width is from the one sidewall to the other sidewall, not including the sidewalls. That the overall width, which is not listed here, is the including sidewalls. And so your section width is from the end of one sidewall to the start of the next. It's not your tread width, although it is essentially your tread width. So the section width is the tread plus any extra little side tread design features or anything like that. So, yeah, it's not just your straight tread. So you can walk up to a tire that says, let's say 275, and another tire that's a 275, and they can have different tread widths within that, and some companies are drastic, and some companies just run wider. Let's say a 315 from, I don't know if this is still the case. For the longest time, a 315 35 17 from Nitto was wider than most other companies' 315 35 17s, especially the ones you could get from BF Goodrich. BF Goodrich ones were known to run narrower. Is what it is, but we're not really worried about that. And then the second number, so that's your first number, the section width, right? So it gives you a general idea of how wide the tire is. It's in millimeters as well, okay? So that can kind of help you figure stuff out maybe, or if you want to convert to inches, that's fine, but that's listed in millimeters. The next number is, on this example, 75, and you can see, I'll read it to you and then I'll give you my explanation. Following the 3 digits identifying the tire section width in millimeters is a 2-digit number that identifies the tire's profile or aspect ratio. This is the height of the sidewall expressed as a percentage of the section width. Okay. So this one's a little weird because I kind of always think about it like the overall width of the tire. Like if you cut a strip of the tire out, bead to bead, so sidewall and stuff, then that's not really the case. So the sidewall aspect ratio, or that second number that's 2 digits in your tire rating or your tire size, is a percentage of the section width that is your sidewall. And so the larger that number is, the more sidewall you're going to have, and I don't want to say taller the tire will be, because you can have like a 215 80 215 80 14. I don't even know if that's a tire size, but it would be a lot of sidewall, but it would be a really small little tire. Yeah. And so, but you can kind of get an idea of how much sidewall is going to be there, because obviously then your third number is your wheel size. It's R16 a lot of times, or R17, 18, 20. There's 19s, there's 22s, 24s. I think there might even be some 21s. And then some European cars with PAX tires have a weird thing where it's a millimeter and it's different and nothing fits with those specific tires. European cars are a pain in the butt, right? I was watching Doug DeMuro. I was watching him yesterday, and he was reviewing a BMW 135 IS. And he was talking about how great the car is and how wonderful it is to drive, and the power is perfect for the size and the chassis, and it's just the way the power is delivered is great. And he's like, and I do know that there's reliability issues with these. And I'm like, come on, man, that ruins the whole thing for me. I'm gonna go buy a car and the engine's a piece of junk in 100,000 miles. Just BMW's frustrating to me. They make some cars that handle great, they're fun to drive and all that stuff, but they're mechanically totaled by 130,000 miles, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I've got my Blue Bullet that I take on my drives and stuff. It has 117, I think, on it, or 113, somewhere in there, a little bit over 110,000 miles. I could put a supercharger on that thing, and as long as I don't run too much boost and go crazy with the timing, it's going to last forever. And I don't drive it that much, which that helps. Anyway, back to tires. Sorry, I get sidetracked. So we've covered our first number, which is the section width. And we've covered our second number, which is the percentage of the section width that is the sidewall height. It's a little weird. I wish they wouldn't do it like that. I honestly wish they would give the overall width and a percentage of the overall width that is your sidewall height. That makes a lot more sense to me. And I feel like if they listed the tires that way, it would make more sense to other people too. Just like the overall width, 75% of that's your sidewall. So, I don't know. Anyway. And then the last number, like I said, that's your wheel size. So you have to have the right wheel size. You can't put a tire for a different wheel size on your wheel. It won't fit. And so now, I'm just going to stay on Tire Rack here. I'm going to go up here to Shop Products. So how I got here, I just want to show you, because there's a lot of good information in here. So if I were to go to Tire Rack, this would be at the top no matter what. And I hit Research and Advice, right? And then I went to Tech Articles. And then I clicked on the fancy picture of tires. And then it looks like this wouldn't be a button here. It looks like these are just buttons, but you can actually click on this. And that got me to that page. So you can come in here and do a lot of research on your own, which is good to do. I always suggest researching everything. I have spent so much time in my life researching and learning things, just so when I go talk to someone, I'm not an idiot. Let's hit Shop Products. So you can put in your vehicle here, which is pretty cool because a lot of times they will have that. What I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to put in a vehicle. In a minute, we're going to shop for a size. Okay. So I'm going to put in my wife's vehicle. Okay. So it is a Cadillac from 2005, and it's an Escalade, and it's all-wheel drive. And I have to put in a zip code. I'm in Arkansas. I don't think that's news to anybody. Okay, so we see that that vehicle only came with a 265/70/17. Okay. Now here's the thing. If I'm shopping for tires for this vehicle, I need to go outside and look at the tire, okay? Because if I jump on here and go, okay, it's got 265, 70, 17, I'm going to order some tires. Well, it doesn't have a 265, 70, 17 because I put different wheels and tires on it. Now, if you've bought something, you need to go check what it is because, like, I bought a 2001 Mustang, and if I just went and ordered some 245, 45, 17s for it, well, they wouldn't have fit because the car had 18s on it when I got the car. They were 18s from a later Mustang, and the offset of the wheel was horrible, and they set way too far in. But wheel offsets and sizing wheels is a topic for a different video. So I know that I don't have a 265 70 17. What we're going to do, though, we can click optional tire sizes. Let's see if it's in here. I bet it is a 285 50 20. That's weird. That's weird. So that's a fine tire size, and it's about the same height. But the vehicle actually has a 275 55 20, and that is a common size that GM ran on their 20-inch wheels from like 2003 or 4. It was the size, I believe it was the size that came on the Silverado SS in 03. And they ran that size on their 20s. I think they still run that size on their 20s today. So I'm going to go back and shop products again. Then we're going to do by size. And then you can pick your size. Now, if they have your correct size when you do their vehicle drop down, that's great. Been recording for 12 minutes. Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure this doesn't go too long. That's absolutely great because then you just click on it, right? So let's do this. So I have a 275, 55, 20. View results. Now here's another thing that I like to do. When I go outside to look at the tire size on my vehicle, I oftentimes don't write it down. I just take my phone and I take a picture of it. Because then I can come back in here and I can look at the picture and say, okay, that's exactly what it is. Because a lot of times when I write things down, I look at what I wrote and go, I hope I wrote that right. Is that what it was? Now maybe that's just me being weird and dumb. I don't know. I like to take pictures of things. I have so many pictures in my phone. So you can see we have price lowest to highest, which is honestly not a horrible way to go. You do have to watch though, because sometimes on Tire Rack they have a special at the top that's not actually the cheapest price tire. If I scroll down here, looks like... What? Hold up. Are you telling me winter and snow? Oh, what is going on here? Look at all this mess. There's all kinds of filters applied that I didn't do because I have never shopped for snow tires. That was weird. Yeah. Okay, I've never seen that before, but I'm glad it happened while I'm making this video so you guys can see when you apply filters, like if I come over here and I apply a light truck filter, the filter is going to show up right here, so you can then get rid of that filter. That was weird. I don't know why I did that. So I'm going to still go lowest to highest. Now, I understand when it comes to buying tires, oftentimes people don't save up money specifically for this. I actually like to do that. I like to put back a little bit over time into a separate account that's just for tires, mainly because I have 6 cars. And it's something I got to think about. But I come in here and I go, Laufen, whatever. I don't know what that is. It's probably fine. I'm sure it meets... Here's the thing. If you can't afford a good tire, all tires sold in the U.S. have to meet DOT regulations. No thanks. Have to meet DOT regulations. So they're all going to be fine, right? They're going to be... If you're just driving, normal driving... they're going to be fine. You can get into situations where you have a tire that's not tailored to what you're doing. Specifically, if you're doing something like cornering or off-roading or things, you can definitely have the wrong tires. But if you're just like driving back and forth to work and you need some tires, any tire is going to be fine. As long as it's not like a 100 tread wear rating craziness. And that's this right here, this UTQG. The higher the number, the harder the rubber, and the longer the tire should last. So when I scroll down through, I have a buddy that's run some Radar tires, and he has had good luck with them. This tread pattern looks like an old Firestone tread pattern as well. I almost bet that they bought some of the old. Okay, here's the thing. The tread patterns, the molds to make tires in, and it's literally a big metal shape that looks like a tire. A negative of a tire, like the outside, of it. And they put hot rubber into it, like blow it up in there. And I'm gonna turn my gain down just a little bit. I think I'm blowing you guys out. Anyway, and it forms to the metal mold and makes a tire. And so, to me, I know it's not exactly, but that's so similar to one of the older Firestone Destination LE2s from years ago that I almost bet they bought some of those molds. So what I was saying, those molds are ridiculously expensive, and it costs millions and millions of dollars to get them all DOT approved. And so when the big companies, the big tire companies, Michelin, Goodyear, BF Goodrich, and the like, when they retire a mold to update it to a new tire, very oftentimes smaller companies buy those molds. And even Tire Rack, which Tire Rack and Discount Tire Direct are the same company, though they merged. And so the Discount Tire that might be local to your town or whatever, they're part of the Tire Rack network. But that company buys molds as well. And the tires we bought for my father-in-law's truck just the other day, actually, they were one of their house brands that they call, but it's the same as an old Kumho tire. So, and I recognized the tread pattern on it, and I was like, oh yeah, I like that tire. I've had those in the past, so let's get those. But yeah, I've had a buddy that had good luck with Radar. This tire has been around forever. It actually has pretty decent wet traction. We can see the load range is XL. Now we click on this little guy here. Max load 2833, max PSI 50 PSI. And so when I see load range XL, I just think of that as just your kind of standard truck tire. And these being a 275/55, that's almost a 32-inch tire. It's 32 inches tall, so just kind of your standard truck tires, right? Advanta, I don't really know that brand that well. I do like to stay with brands that I'm aware of. I don't like Dolphin, although that's a decent looking tire. Again, that looks like an old Firestone or Goodyear tread pattern. Let's keep scrolling. Advanta, I don't know that well. General used to be absolute garbage, but they're a little bit better now. Advanta, I recognize that. That looks like an old Firestone one as well. Anyway, sorry. Uniroyal has been around forever. So the factory tire on a lot of Pontiac GTOs in the 60s was a Uniroyal Tiger Paw, right? And so this company's been around a long time. They are a subsidiary, a smaller offshoot of another company. A bigger tire company bought them up and still uses that name because there's old dudes that like the Uniroyal thing. When the boomers pass, I imagine the Uniroyal brand will be allowed to die because it's really small these days. But there's old dudes that like it. Let's keep scrolling. There's some people smiling at us at the bottom. We haven't got to anything here that I would consider a really good tire. The Toyo is a decent tire. That's more of a performance-oriented tire. It kind of is and kind of isn't. So it's a hard tread pattern, as you can see. It's not snow-rated. What is this number here? I forget. Oh, that's our load index as well. Speed rating V, so 149 miles an hour. So this one, I've seen guys run on a lot of what they lowered sport trucks, right? And just because it's a cool looking tread pattern, and it says street sport truck all season up here too. Dunlop is a decent tire. We're still in the general stuff, and we're $200 a tire. Here's actually the tire my buddy runs on his truck. He's got some heavier duty ones. She'll be like a load range E probably on a diesel Ford, and he's enjoying those tires. He's had no issues with them. The Bridgestone Dueler, tons of people have run those. Special closeout, 202 a tire. That's not bad for a Bridgestone. As you can see, this has an 800 treadwear rating. EcoFocus, that's a thing. Interesting. So this rubber would be very hard, and the harder the rubber is, the less rolling resistance it's going to have, because if the rubber is really soft, it's going to grab into all the I'm kind of grabbing here, but it's going to grab into all the little bumps in the road a lot better. You're going to have more grip. So this tire is an eco product. It's got a very hard rubber. It's going to last a long time, but it's not going to have that much grip. So it's a trade-off that you have there. Let's keep scrolling. Hankook Dynapro. I've had a set of those. They're not bad. It's a fine tire. Radar Renegade. Good looking off-road tire for $207. That's pretty cool. Right? That's a nice looking tire if you wanted something off-roady. It's got some nice sidewall tread to dig in. That's kind of cool. That's cheap for that, man. That's really cheap. I've seen a lot of these on sport trucks and even some cars. They only have 2 in stock. This tire's been around forever. Let's see, page 3. Here's the load range E. So we click on this. Max load 3,000 pounds, whereas the other ones were less. I don't remember exactly now. And 80 psi max instead of 50. So this is for your more heavy duty truck. You know, if you're hauling a lot of trailers that are rather heavy, or if you have a 3/4 or 1 ton, that's kind of where you're looking. Cooper, Falcon, a lot of tires in this kind of price range here. This is an interesting one. I haven't actually seen this one before. 740. It has a low speed 118 mile an hour. So that's just a truck tire, but I don't know. That kind of looks cool. Interesting tread pattern. That one's been around a little while too. There's the Firestone Destination LE3. And remember I said the LE2, that one tire looked like the LE2. And so that was an older tread pattern, this one. This is the new one. Now, another thing you kind of get here, there are other things about tires. When I say, remember earlier when I was saying, those cheaper ones are fine. Like, they're okay. You're going to get... I'm popping my fingers. I apologize. That was kind of my nervous tick as I was thinking. A nicer tire is going to have more technology put into it, more design time. You're going to get a tire that performs well, grips well, and is also quiet and rides well. If you get the really cheap tires, the ride might not be as good. They might be a little bit noisy. There's a trade-off. There's a reason it's cheap, okay? But again, it's going to get you to point A and point B for years. It's going to be a fine tire, but if you do spend more on the tire, you get a little bit nicer tire. That's kind of how those things go typically. The Goodyear Eagle LS2, this was actually a factory tire on a lot of those early 275, 55, 20 GM vehicles. I remember seeing this tire quite a bit, and I even bought a set of 275, 55, 20s that were off of a takeoffs of a Chevy truck to run on a Ford truck that I had at the time. Pirelli, I'll be honest, I don't want to disparage Pirelli, but I have not had good luck with them, and people that I know that have had them have not had great luck because they seem to not last as long as they should. So like this has a 800 tread wear rating. It might not, right? But they seem to wear like they have a 200 or 300 less number than what they're advertised as. And so if you buy this tire thinking it's going to be a 80 to 100,000 mile tire, it might get you 40 or 50,000. Now, I will say I haven't really looked into these tires in the last few years. Maybe they've upgraded and changed some stuff, and that information that kind of going around online, and other people I knew that had Pirellis and had issues with them, that was a decade ago. So that could be a non-issue at this point. So I've seen a few tires that I would buy. I think I probably stopped and talked about them. And this is a good highway tire. You got a lot of siping in it. Siping is the little bitty cuts. That's a decent tire right there. Falcon Wild Peak, not a bad tire. Sumitomo Encounter, Goodyear Eagle Sport All Season. I've seen kind of the same thing with Goodyears, where people say they don't last as long as they should. But this has a 560, and a lot of people searching for tires in this range are thinking it's going to be a 7 or 800. But I think Goodyears are rated properly. I don't think it's the same thing as the Pirellis. I just think people are expecting more out of a tire than they. I think people are wanting the Goodyear because it's got good grip and stuff, and it's a nicer tire. It's a known brand and everything. It's one of the bigger tire brands. But then the tire maybe doesn't last as long as they wanted it to. But it was rated properly, and it was all those things. So let's keep going here. General Grabber. So let's say, okay, you have a little truck and you want more of an all-terrain tire, okay? So I'm just going to click on all-terrain up here. Now there's on-road all-terrain and off-road all-terrain. There's not that many here still, so we'll just click on both of those. And then we still want price lowest to highest. So when you start to look at your all-terrain type tires, right, you can see they're quite a bit more expensive. We were $200, $250 a tire, and we instantly jump up to $300 plus a tire. Scroll down through these. I'll actually show you the tires I put on my wife's. Ooh, I like those. That's not a bad looking tire. I'll show you the ones I put on my wife's vehicle here in just a minute when we get to them. They were more expensive though. The Kumho Road Venture AT52. I like those. I've had those in the past. That's actually a pretty decent tire. They were surprising. They were surprising in the snow, and they are snow rated, as you can see here, but they did surprisingly well on a two-wheel drive that I didn't expect to do as well as it did. Scrolling down, Nomad Grappler, Sumitomo. Sumitomo is upping their game. They are actually trying to compete with higher end tires, and I've got actually Sumitomos on two of my Mustangs, and mainly I didn't really want them. I wanted the Nittos because the Nittos aren't super great in straight line grip. The NT555 Gen 2s, they're not great in straight line, like accelerating drag racing grip, but they do well in the corners, and that's what I liked. But when I bought them, it was during the shortages, and so the tires I wanted weren't available. That's fine. When they wear out, I'll replace them with something different. Scrolling down through, that doesn't even look like an all-terrain at all. That's kind of interesting. Not snow rated, so I'm kind of surprised that's even in this category, but hey, whatever. BF Goodrich all-terrain, that's a great tire. This is the KO3, so this is the third generation of all-terrain. These tires have been around for a long time, and this is just a good tire. I still haven't seen my wife's yet. I'm surprised. I figured we would have seen it already. I don't see it. So let's do this. Let's get rid of this and get rid of this. And I'm going to come over here and I want to pick a brand. I'm sorry I'm having to lean a bit. My light, so my face is lit up, is right in front of the screen here. Brand, here we go. So let's click on BF Goodrich. And there it is. We got her these for her Escalade, the Trail Terrain, at $250 a tire. That's not bad. I don't know why that didn't show up in more of the all-terrain-ish tires, because there were tires less aggressive than this in there. 660 tread wear rating. It's got a low top speed, which is fine, because it's a truck tire. I clicked on something. Let's go back. I clicked on warranty or something like 60,000 mile warranty. This is what I bought for hers because as you could see, the tires in this price range start around 170 a tire, and then they go up to about 350 a tire. So this is in the middle. It's BF Goodrich, which is a brand I really like for truck tires, and it has white letters too, which we wanted that. And so on her Escalade, we have an off-road-ish tire with white letters out. It's a little silly. We also put, I took the factory running boards off of it because they were like painted with chrome ends, and it wasn't our thing. And I put standard Tahoe running boards on it that are just black. And there's people in the Escalade community that don't like that. Whatever. All right, so that's kind of truck tires, shopping for those. You know, you can spend what you can spend. You obviously have a price range, and then you can do research and stuff in there. But that's how you look for truck tires. So let's go look at how we would look for some, let's say, sportier car tires. And I'm going to throw a curveball into that too because I'm going to do a stagger. So, on the front of my Mustang, I have a 265, 35, 18. Hey, I have a different rear tire size. I have wider tires on the rear, so I want to add a different size. And on the rear, I happen to have a 285. Where is it? 35, 18. Now, I know there's some tires. So what Tire Rack will do, it will get you match sets, right? And there's a lot of times people with staggers don't do match sets. They'll do a different brand on the rear or a drag type tire on the rear, so different front and rear. But let's just check. I want to see something. I want to see if I can find like a 335/30. There's another thing here you want to know your sizes you run. You can get into like, I'm picking standard and custom sizes. What you do is get on Google and type metric tire conversion calculator or something like that. And you can find calculators where you can put in your metric tire size and it'll spit out inches for us Imperial system users. And then you can say, okay, well, I need like something that's like 26 inches tall. So this is, you put in your factory tire size or however you want it to be, and then you can be like, okay, that's the height I want. Then you can put in some other things until you get to what you want to use. So let's just see if there's anything in these. I kind of doubt that there is. Yeah. All right, let's back this up. So we're gonna do a new search. Let's do that same thing, but with the sizes that I have. It might not even find those because sometimes it has trouble doing the staggers here, but we'll just see. 285. The 285/35 on the rear is kind of weak. It's not very wide. I want it wider. See? Oh well, here we go. All this stuff's here again. What's going on? I don't understand. Okay, now we got some tires, and these are actually the tires I have on my car. And they're not bad. They're surprisingly decent. As you can see, we're starting here at 230 a tire almost. 320 tread wear, so this is lower than the truck stuff. I think the lowest we saw over there was 400. And so these are 320, which is, for a sporty tire, kind of hard. A lot of things are down in the 200 range. One thing that's kind of interesting is this is kind of what the front tire looks like, and then the back tire has the exact same tread. The tread's not wider. The gaps between the tread are wider to make it the wider 285. And so the tread is the exact same. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh cool, my 285 has the exact same lateral sideways grip as my 265. They just had the exact same tread on them, just spaced out further. Kind of silly, but that's what you run into with a cheaper tire. General Grabber. These tires here, General G-Max, sorry. These tires, and then Nitto has a similar tire. Or is it Nitto? It's not Nitto, sorry, it's Kumho, I think, that has a similar tire. For whatever reason, they seem to get hard really quick. The Kumho ones. I don't know much about this one. This just reminded me of that, so I don't know. Anyway, they seem to lose their squishiness. Run those, they're not bad. Not a huge fan. I actually had a set of these on my Dark Shadow Grey Monk one I had that did 330 wheel, and it didn't hook up very well because they were stock size. They were 245 45 17s, and as you can see, this has a 500 tread wear rating, so it was a harder tire. It was a fine tire. It was great in the rain, and I didn't have any issues with it, but they couldn't hook up very well. I think would spin a lot. Falcon Zenith, that's not a bad tire. NT555G2. I'm a fan of Nitto. They sponsor some of the people I like watching, like Cletus and stuff, and so I'm always up for some Nittos. Pirelli P0. I would not get these. You can see the tread wear rating is 220. They will wear quicker than 220, in my opinion. They wear out way quick. Of course, I also think people are buying these thinking they're going to be a 30,000 mile tire, and it's not. It's like a 15,000-20,000 mile tire. Bridgestone Potenza Sport. We don't have a lot of these with these two sizes because remember I picked the two different sizes, so it's only showing me options that come in those two different sizes. This is actually what I want to get from my Mustangs instead of the Nittos. This is what I want on my Blue Bullet, the Pilot Sport 4S. This is generally considered, I've never run a set of these, but this is generally considered to be a pretty good sport tire that still works well in the rain. And as you can see, they're not exactly cheap. It's $1,400 for a set of tires. But we're going to do something. Yeah, I like that tread pattern. I like the little checkered flag on the side of the tire too. That's a good looking tire. So what I'm actually going to do is I'll show you something. You got something else here. And we've been talking for about 36 minutes, so we'll cut this off before long. I want to do a tire and wheel package. Let's look at wheels. Tire and wheel packages. Here we go. So this is really, if I do the more cornering focus setup on the Blue Bullet, this is what I'm going to run. So I'll kind of show you how I piece it together here. Create a tire and wheel package. Create a package. So we don't want to do that. Okay, here we go. So we're going to pick a Fjord from 2001, and it's a Schmushmang GT Bullet. Not that that super matters, but that's what we're picking. Tire and wheel packages, view results. And I know what I want. Ooh, I like these. I want those on my green Bullet, right? N18s. I just always wanted the American Racing torque thrust because the Bullet wheel is kind of a knockoff of the torque thrust Krager SS style wheel, and I want those on the green Bullet, and eventually I will get them. Oh, that only comes in 17. That's more of that old school look. That's pretty cool. That comes in a 20. I don't want a 20. Jeez. Anyway, sorry. I got sidetracked. So let's go over here to brand. And we're going to go for... Is this Inky? Inkai. I don't know how you pronounce this, to be honest. We're going to go here. And we're going to click on these. They're out of stock. Pooskies. 17 by 9. And so this would have been the size. So the factory wheels on my car were 17 by 8. 17 by 9 came on the Cobras, the 0304 Cobra. So let's add these to the package. And the reason I like these is because they're really, really lightweight. Okay? And I know what tire I want. I want some Michelins. What tire? What size tire are we having? They're showing me 245, 45, 17s. Yuck. I don't want a 245, 45, 17 on a 17 by 9. I want a 275, 40. Or at least a 255, 40. Why? Because it's wider. Now, a 255, 40 on a 17 by 9 is probably going to be your best handling option because there's already going to be a little bit of pull and stretch to the sidewall. If I run the 275, 40, the sidewall is going to have just a little bit of bulge, which when you turn in, it's going to slow your turn-in reaction just a little bit because that sidewall will give a little bit of wiggle and squish. However, it improves ride quality and it looks better, in my opinion. Okay, so that's not going to work for me. I want a certain size. So I've got those wheels in the cart. Can I change tire size right here? So I want to run a 275, 40, 17. Let's see what that gives me. And I know what I want. I know what brand I want. So I'm going to click it. Now you guys can do whatever you want. I want to run the Michelins. Not the all season. That's a good tire too, but there's the PS2. That's a more sporty tire. Huh. So they don't have that Pilot Sport 4S. Interesting. Let's do something different here. But why don't they have a Pilot Sport 4S and a 275/40/17? That's a pretty popular size. I'm kind of confused. However, that's still not a bad tire. That worries me that it says vintage, though, because it's like, how old are these things? Like, are you going to buy them and they're already 6 years old from sitting on the shelf? That would be unfortunate. Yep, that is definitely an older design. That's interesting. Interesting. So let's do shop products. I'm going to go in here to brand. I'm going to try to do something different, okay? So I'm going to get in here and I'm going to look for a brand I want. I'm going to just go to Michelin. And the reason I'm showing you this and kind of going all these different ways is so if you're not very aware of how to look for tires and how to figure out what you want, now you have some information about how to get on this website and poke around and figure out what you want and not just what they want to show you, right? Racetrack and autocross, the Cup N3 and N3R, crazy tires. Ultra high performance, AS3, all season 4. Where's the one I want? There's the Pilot Super Sport. That's a good tire. Pilot Sport 4S. Okay, this is the tire that I like. The look of. Let's see what kind of sizes they have. I should be able to get in here and see all the sizes, I think. Sizes, here we go. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm looking at 17s, and it comes in a 265/40/17. That might not be enough. That's an odd size. I've actually never heard of a 265/40/17. What do they got in 18s, though, just out of curiosity? So we have a 265/35 and a 275/35, which would not be wide enough for my rear wheels. I have a 285/30, that would be a little bit short. I could get another set of my 18x9s that I have on the front of my car and run 4 of these in 265/35. So on the Mustangs, like I have, a square setup is the best. So the same size tires on front and rear is actually the best for handling. Because the way their cars are set from the factory, the forward weight bias, and then just kind of the general setup of the car with the sway bars and things. I've changed a lot of my suspension, and I'm going to change more. But the car is set up from the factory to understeer, which means when you lose traction, the front end slides. If you go into a corner too hot. Now, if you come out of a corner too hot, too much throttle and stuff, you can always kick the rear end down on a rear-wheel drive car with a decent amount of power. But because the front end wants to slide, if I run wider tires in the back than the front, I'm going to have more sideways grip, because that's how the wider the tire, it's not the more straight line traction you have. The wider the tire, the more sideways traction you have, the more lateral traction. If you want straight line acceleration, the taller the tire is better, because you actually get more contact patch on the road from a taller tire than a wider tire. So if I were to run 4 265/35 18s, that would actually work. Now, I couldn't run those on the really light wheels I want. I do want those really, really light wheels, because light wheels make such a huge difference. They do have that 245/45, so that's interesting, but I want wider than that. So let's look at this one. I don't know what kind of size this is. It might be too short, to be honest with you. I have run a 255/40/17 on my Mustangs, and it was shorter than stock. $1,650 for a set of tires. That's a lot of money. 25 by 10.43. So that's a bit of a problem, because the 275/40/17, you can see, is 26 inches tall, and the 265 is 25 inches tall. So that tire is an inch shorter than I need. 240, that's a 26 as well. So let's go back over here and let's do something a little bit different. Let's say I do absolutely want to run that 275/40/17. So let's do a size here, and let's just see what's available in that size. Well, those are cheap, $120 a tire. My goodness. I am going to pick some brands here, because when it comes to There are not many tires available in this size. Oh my goodness. That's kind of surprising and a little upsetting. This was a really popular size for quite a while. I guess it's just not that popular anymore. Okay, so of the brands that I like, the Nitto still has that, which is fine. It is a harder tire. I would want something for cornering. I want something in the 200s. It's not going to last as long, but I don't drive that car that much. That tire is way too hard for what I'm doing with this. And again, this is all so you can see. I showed the general truck tires and the cheaper side of things. This is like, okay, now I'm picking a tire to go out on the back roads and go cornering and mountain roads and stuff that I like to do. So this is more focused, and you guys can see how to shop for that, right? Firestone Firehawk Indy 500. That's a 340. I like the look of the tire. It's got a lot of it's got very little siping, so this tells me it's probably not going to do well in the rain. Right now, this would be my pick in this size. Let's keep going. NT 555 R2. Now, I can't remember on this one. Is this more of a drag race tire, or is it more of their road racy tire? It's 100 tread wear, so that's going to be really sticky. And I'm going to click on this here. I think the drag radial is like listed as DR, so I think this is more of the road racy type tire, and they've actually got it on those wheels that I want, those inky or however you say it wheels. So that's cool, because that is kind of how it would look if I were to purchase this set and those wheels. Good amount of sidewall, but you can see the little bit of sidewall bulge that I was talking about. Like, it sticks out a little bit, but I think that looks good. Let's go back. You got the Michelin Pilot Sport all season 4. So this is not, it's a 540, so it's not going to be a super hard tire. This is a really good tire, though. I've seen rain tests on these tires. It's a good tire. It would do really well, but it's not going to have the lateral grip that I really want. At this point, really what that would be is, I've always wanted, Michelins are kind of like the high end for this type of thing. You see them on Porsches and Vettes and Ferraris and stuff. So at this point, it's kind of almost like I'm buying a brand because that's the brand that the rich car guys use. Little silly, but when I'm looking at this, I'm like, man, would I even want these? I don't know. I need to do some more research on these, because it's I remember the Pilot Sport PS2 being a good tire, but I mean, this is an old tire now. If it's still something they make new, then maybe. But I would hate to buy some of these and they already be 2 or 3 years old sitting on the shelf, because tires only last, in a garage without UV on them. And if the car sits a lot, 7 to 10 years. But at 7 years, really, they're too hard to really push hard anymore. That's another thing you have to think about too, or something that's good to know. If a tire sits, you put it on the car and the car just sits, they actually wear out quicker than if you were to drive them. Now, if you drive them and wear the rubber down really quick, that's a different thing. But if you just drive them normally, you might get more years in life out of a tire than if they just sit, because the tires on my truck, for example, and it sits outside in the sun, they've only got, I don't know how many miles they have on them. So I bought the truck with 59,999 miles on it. It's a 2004. I bought it in 2020 with just under 60,000 miles. And it literally turned 60,000 miles as I was driving it home. And it was like 1.5 miles from my house where I bought it. And so it turned 60,000 miles. The truck has 73,000 miles on it now. And so in the 5 years I've owned it, and it's been 5 years and I think 2 months now. In the 5 years I've owned it, I've put 13,000 miles on the truck. Okay. The tires I bought for it, new Nittos, about a year in. So I didn't drive it much in that first year. Actually, I drove it more in that first year than I drive it now. No, I take that back. I was already working from home full time in 2020. So I didn't drive it that much. So anyway, 4 years on these tires and 13,000 miles. Let's just call it 13. It's probably 11,000. They're dry rotting and cracking because it sat and the rubber didn't get flexed and stuff. They just sat in the sun and they're done. Like they're starting to crack on me. And so I'm like, crap, and I got to buy new tires for that. And they still have almost all the tread. Like, they're still in great shape, but they just sat. So that's how that goes. And that's what I'd be worried about with these. If I were to buy these tires, I would probably look into them a little bit more. I would call Tire Rack and say, hey, these PS2 vintages, have they been sitting on the shelf for a few years? Like, what's the story here? And $60 off. That'll help absolutely none, because they're still almost $400 a tire. That's interesting. So I really want those 4S's. I'll have to look into that a little bit more and figure out if there's a different size I can run, or if there's a lightweight wheel in an 18, because they had way more 18 sizes, and they had sizes that work for me in the 18s. But like, I know right now my current wheels are like 25, 26 pounds a piece, and those 17s I showed you, I think they're 17 or 18 pounds a piece, and that would make such a huge difference, because that's all that weight spinning, right? When you get on the brakes, you have to slow not just your car down, but you have to slow that spinning weight of the wheel down too. And if you've ever spun something like kind of heavy, like a bicycle wheel or something, you know it, like, it takes some force to stop it. And so like a 25-pound wheel takes a lot more to slow down than a 17-pound wheel. And that makes a big difference. It makes a difference in your acceleration and your braking and your turning and everything. Because if, there's something, I don't remember what it's called. It's essentially inertia. And so, like, something that's spinning straight, like you maybe have seen motorcycle crashes and stuff where, like, the guy gets, on a motorcycle race, like a street bike race or something. He going around the corner and he, low sides typically the bike's ain't done. Let's say the guy high sides, he gets flipped over the top of the bike, and then the bike wiggles around and it just keeps going. It just keeps going straight, because those spinning wheels, they want to stay spinning, and they will act as a gyroscope almost to steady the thing and keep it going that way, right? And so if you're driving down the road straight and you want to turn, those wheels want to keep going that way they were going. You're having to apply a force to them to get them to turn. So the lighter they are, the easier it is to turn in as well. All way too much for an entry-level course on picking tires. I've talked for quite a while. What are we at? I have been talking for 53 minutes. What? I like tires. It's whatever. This is what I do. So, guys, I hope you liked it. Like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe you got something out of it. Maybe you didn't. If you got this far, just congrats. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.